Okay, so today we're going to finish up the notes on section 4. We're going to do some shifts of the sine and cosine graph, left and right, and that's called a phase shift. So again, this was the basic sine graph or the sine curve. Here was our cosine. We graphed sine and cosine when we had an amplitude and a period change. And then we also had shifts to graph vertically up and down. So we did the up and down shifts. And then now what we're going to do is the phase shift, where we're going to graph it and shift our graph left and right. Now, for the phase shift, it's backwards of what you would think. Just like we've, whenever we shift it left and right, if it looks like it's a minus, say pi over 3, we would really be shifting it to the right, not to the left. So it's backwards of what you would think. We're shifting left and right, so we're shifting it horizontally, which means left and right shifts. And again, opposite of what you would think. So for example, if I gave you sine of x minus pi over 4, this pi over 4, remember, this is 45 degrees. So what we're doing is backwards what you would think. You would think minus would be left, but really what we're doing is we're going to be shifting it 45 degrees to the right. That will be our new starting point. And then if it had sine of x plus pi over 4, this would have been shifting it 45 degrees to the left. And again, you don't need to convert it to degrees. Just leave everything in radians. Now, notice on the graph here, the starting point is C divided by B. All of the examples that we're going to do, our B value is going to be a 1. So what we're going to do is, instead of multiplying by 1/4, 1/2, 3/4 to get our new points, we're going to space them all 90 degrees apart, because our B value is going to be 1 on all the examples we're going to do. So here, just like before, if it's got an amplitude and a period, we would have to change that. And then you can find your key points. But again, our phase shift is our B value is going to be 1. So we're just going to look at whatever is being added or subtracted to that x. Then we're going to label our x-axis and then plot our points. Now, unlike before, when we could just do the mirrored image on the negative side, we actually have to calculate the points. And we're going to get 4 points to the left of our starting point and 4 to the right. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first example. So again, backwards of what you would think. So we're going to graph the sine curve. And here, this is pi over 3, backwards of what you would think. So we're going to move it pi over 3, or 60 degrees to the right. And again, I need to calculate new order pairs in order to get my axis labeled. So what we're really starting at is 60 degrees to the right. That's our new starting point. So what I need to do is, from my starting point, I need to get 4 order pairs that are going to be to the right of this starting point. And the way that I'm going to find them, because my B value is 1 here, I'm just going to space them 90 degrees. So I'm adding pi over 2 to get my new order pairs. So this will become, when I find a common denominator of 6, my new numerator here is going to become 2 pi. My new numerator here for the pi over 2 is 3 pi over 6. Once I add this, I get 5 pi over 6. And again, if you think about it, 60 degrees, my starting point, plus adding 90, ends up at 150 degrees. 150 degrees in radians is 5 pi over 6. Now I need to, again, get another. I need 4 points. So I got to do it again. I've got to add pi over 2 to this answer I just got. So pi over 2. And remember, pi over 2, I've already found the common denominator. So let me just put this in as 3 pi over 6. Once I add it, 8 pi over 6. It'll simplify for my label on the x-axis, 4 pi over 3. Now, when I go to get my next order pair or my next label on my x-axis, I'm going to use the unsimplified because I already know my common denominator. It's 6. So if I use the 8 over 6 plus 3 over 6, then I end up with 11 pi over 6. I need to do another one. 11 pi over 6 plus 3 pi over 6, 14 pi over 6, reduces to 7 pi over 6. I now have 4 points that are to the right side of my starting point. Now I have to find 4 to the left, and I can't just do a mirrored image. This should be 7 pi over 6 over 3. Sorry. Thank you. I need to simplify the denominator as well. Divide them both by 2. Good catch. Thank you. Now, starting point. I need to take my pi over 3, and now I need to the left of it, so I'm going to subtract 90, or pi over 2. Again, common denominator is going to be 6, so this becomes 2 pi over 6 minus 3 pi over 6, and I get negative pi over 6. That's going to be my first point to the left of pi over 6, or pi over 3. And then again, take that answer. Again, subtract the pi over 2, but with the common denominator, remember it's 3 pi over 6. So negative 4 pi over 6 simplifies to negative 2 pi over 3. Again, I'm going to take the unsimplified, subtract 3 pi over 6 again, negative 7 pi over 6, and then one more, negative 7 pi over 6 minus 3 pi over 6, negative 10 pi over 6 gives me negative 5 pi over 3. Now I have 4 points to the left. So 4 to the left of the starting. So now let's go ahead and get our axis. So when you're doing the homework tonight, I need to see all of these calculations. And then you're going to label it. You're going to draw your own coordinate plane. You're going to label it. And then you're going to follow the pattern of the sine or the cosine graph. So let me go ahead and draw my x and y axis here. And I've used the graph paper. So let me zoom in here. Let me shift it over. Now remember, these are spaced 90 degrees apart. So if you think about it, if I say I'm going to do 4 boxes for 90 degrees, or even 3, let's see, what can I do here? 30. So if each little square here, this would be my pi over 3, which is 60. And then I want to go 90 degrees from that. So if you think about it, this is 60 degrees. And then if I go up now another 90 degrees, 1, 2, 3, I can say that this is 150, or the 5 pi over 6. And then again, go another 1, 2, 3. Then I've got my 4 pi over 3. 1, 2, 3. 11 pi over 6. And then 7 pi over 3. Now I got to go in the other direction. So I can see that I've got right here is my negative pi over 6. Remember, in between each of these is 90 degrees. So from here to here is also 90 degrees. And this is negative. My negative sort of blended in here. And then the next one that I calculated was negative 2 pi over 3. And then negative 7 pi over 6. And then lastly, negative 5 pi over 3. So now I've got my axis labeled. And now I'm going to go ahead and put my first point on the shift, which is pi over 3. Remember, this sine graph always starts at 0, but I'm starting not at 0, 0 now. I've shifted it to pi over 3 to the right. And then from there, the positive sine graph goes up. Let me add in, this didn't have an amplitude. So let me just say that 1 is about here. So that was 1, 2, 3 boxes. And then negative 1 would be here. So my next stopping point is the 5 pi over 6, 90 degrees apart, or pi over 2 degrees apart. Then it goes up, then it comes back down to the axis. Then at 11 pi over 6, it comes down here, and then back up again. So I've got 4 points to the right of my starting point. Now, this is the mistake that everybody makes on the test. This one, remember, each one of these dots is 90 degrees apart. Remember, your starting point was at 60 degrees to the right. Do not stop on the y-axis. That's only 60 degrees. My next stopping point is 90 degrees to the left, and it's going to be over here at the negative pi over 6. So my stopping point over here is right here, not a point on the y-axis. And then from there you would go up, and then up again, and then back down. So do not put a point on the y-axis. You will get that wrong because they have to be 90 degrees apart. And then make your wave, and there is your sine graph with the shift to the right of pi over 3 radians. So the 2, this is my amplitude. Remember, for the amplitude, all we need to do is label it on the y-axis. It's not involved in our calculations. So again, backwards of what we would think. So this is a shift to the left, pi over 4. And remember, pi over 4 is 45 degrees. So again, my starting point is going to be at negative pi over 4. I want to space my points 90 degrees apart. So I'm adding pi over 2. I need to find a common denominator. It's going to be 4. So negative pi over 4 plus 2 pi over 4 leaves me pi over 4. I then take that pi over 4 and add another 90 to it. And again, with the common denominator, pi over 2 is really 2 pi over 4. And this becomes 3 pi over 4. I got to do this so I get 4 points to the right and to the left of my starting point. Right now I'm working on the 4 points to the right. 3 pi over 4 plus 2 pi over 4 gives me 5 pi over 4. Take the 5 pi over 4, do it one more time, and I get 7 pi over 4. These are my 4 points to the right of the starting. Now, these points don't necessarily, it's not going to be like symmetrical where you're going to see 4 4 points on the left side of the y-axis and 4 on the right. It all depends on your shift. Let's calculate the ones to the left. And again, we're going to subtract pi over 2. So again, my starting point, remember, was pi over 4, negative pi over 4. So I'm subtracting the 90 degrees, which is, with the common denominator, is 2 pi over 4. And I get negative 3 pi over 4. This is actually going to be symmetrical, just like we did with the shifts up and down. But again, it's only when it's the 45 here. So again, let me do this. Negative 5 pi over 4. Take that answer. Again, subtract the 90 degrees or the pi over 2. And then lastly, 7 pi over 4 minus 2 pi over 4, negative 9 pi over 4. I now have 4 points to the left of the starting point. So let's go ahead and label your coordinate plane here with these ordered pairs. So what I can do here is, right here is pi over 4, 45 degrees. So if I do 2 boxes for that, I could do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to represent 90, and then 3 pi over 4. Just make sure it's evenly spaced. And then 5 pi over 4, and then 7 pi over 4. And then on the other side, negative pi over 4, negative 3 pi over 4, negative 5 pi over 4, and negative 7 pi over 4, negative 9 pi over 4. Now notice, it looks like, well, why do you have 5 to the left and only 4 to the right of the axis? Remember, here is my starting point. I need 4 on this side and 4 on this side. So really what you're going to be putting on your axis here is 9 points. So now let's go ahead. So we're starting at negative pi over 4 because we shifted it to the left. So the cosine graph, and also let me add in my amplitude because this one had an amplitude of 2. So what we can do is say that maybe 1 is here and 2 is here. So normally the cosine graph is going to start at 1, but in this case, because it's got an amplitude, it's starting at 2. So again, remember your starting point is the negative pi over 4. So I have a point right up here above negative pi over 4 at the amplitude of 2. Again, do not stop on and put a point on the y-axis. Remember, these points are 90 degrees apart. So if it's 45 to the left, 45 to the right, my next stopping point is right here at pi over 4, not on the 0 or on the y-axis. Then from there, you'll go down to the negative 2 at 3 pi over 4, bounce back up, and then up one more time. And again, you can add your little wave here, or your curve for the sine graph. And then let's repeat the sine or the cosine pattern on the other side. So then at negative 3 pi over 4, it's 0. At negative 5 pi over 4, it's down to negative 2. And then back up, and then back up again. And there is your cosine graph with a shift of pi over 4 degrees to the left. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, let's try the next one. All right, next one. Let's see what's going on here. My Apple Pencil just died. Okay, so for this one, it's got an amplitude of -2, so that's my amplitude. And then over here, pi over 2, and again, it's minus, backwards of what you think. So we're shifting it to the right, and again, remember, pi over 2 is 90 degrees. So again, let's do your calculations. So we're starting at pi over 2. And we're going to be shifting it, and we're spacing it 90 degrees apart. So we're going to add pi over 2. I get 2 pi over 2, which equals pi. Then next, I need to do the same thing. I'm going to take the unsimplified, the 2 pi over 2, plus pi over 2, and I get 3 pi over 2. And then I'm going to take 3 pi over 2, add pi over 2 again, 4 pi over 2, which is just 2 pi. Need to do it one more time because I need 4 points. Again, take the 4 pi over 2, the unsimplified, because it helps me with the common denominator, and I get 5 pi over 2. These are my 4 points to the right. Now let me do 4 to the left. So again, take your pi over 2 minus pi over 2. This one actually has a stopping point on the y-axis because I get a 0 in my calculations. And then 0 minus pi over 2 is just negative pi over 2. And then negative pi over 2 minus pi over 2 gives me negative 2 pi over 2, which is just negative pi. And then my last calculation, again, take the negative 2 pi over 2 minus pi over 2, and I get negative 3 pi over 2. And so these are my 4 points that I'm going to label along the x-axis. So let me go ahead now. Add my axis here. Let's label all these points on it. So I have one here at pi over 2. And then pi. 3 pi over 2, 2 pi, and then 5 pi over 2. Then over here, I've got my negative pi over 2, negative pi, and then negative 3 pi over 2. Now again, it looks lopsided, but that's because my starting point is right here. So again, I've got the 4 on this side, and on this side, 0 is included as a stopping point because I got 0 when I calculated these points. So again, sine graph, so let me add in my amplitude as well. So here's 2, and here's negative 2. So here, my starting point, sine graph always starts at 0. Now, because it's a negative sine graph, instead of going up first, I go down. So my next point is going to be down here at negative 2. And then from there, at 3 pi over 2, back to the axis. At 2 pi, I'm back up here, and then back to the axis. So again, we can add in our curves and then complete the pattern. And again, this time I stop on the y-axis because I calculated a 0. And then back down here, and then down again at negative pi, and then back up. Okay, so far I've found the common denominator of 12. I added 90 degrees, which is pi over 2. And then I got 7 pi over 12. And then I did it again, 13 pi over 12. I need to do it again. 13 pi over 12 plus 6 pi over 12 gives me 19 pi over 12. One more time, because again, remember you need 4 points to the left and to the right. So 19 pi over 12 plus 6 pi over 12 gives me 25 pi over 12. These are the 4 points that are going to be to the right of my starting point, which is pi over 12. Now I need to do the left side. So again, I'm taking my starting point, the pi over 12, subtracting the 90, but as a common denominator, remember it's 6 pi over 12. So this gives me negative 5 pi over 12. Take that answer, subtract pi over 2, but with a common denominator, it's negative 6 pi over 12. So negative 11 pi over 12. Take that answer, subtract it again, negative 17 pi over 12. Do it one more time. I need 4 of them. And I get negative 23 pi over 12. Now I can take these 8 points plus my starting point and put it on the axis. So I need 9 points always. Go ahead and add this. So my first point is going to be my starting point. It's going to be the pi over 12. And again, I'm spacing these 90 degrees apart. So my next point is the 7 pi over 12. And then 13 pi over 12. And then the next one, 19 pi over 12. And then the next one, 25 pi. Sorry, my Apple Pencil is dead. So my writing's bad here. And then the other side, again, spaced 90 degrees apart, negative 5 pi over 12. And then negative 11 pi over 12, negative 17 pi over 12, and then lastly, the negative 23 pi over 12. This had an amplitude of 1/2, so I could just say 1/2 is here, and then negative 1/2 right here. I'm shifting it to the right. The cosine graph usually starts at 1, but it's going to start at that amplitude. So my first point will go right here. And then from there, at the next point, it goes down to the axis. Then it goes below the axis. Then back up again. And then back up again. So then curve. And again, do not stop on the y-axis. So my next point is right here at the negative 5 pi over 12. And then at the 11 pi over 12, and then back up and back up. And you're done.